You're listening to the Novice Experience, a podcast that explores the opportunities and challenges commonly encountered by students and young people. I'm Calvin Chan, and chatting with my guests, I'm going to take a deep dive into their meaningful stories, the lessons they've learned, and how they can inspire others. Let's get going. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Novice Experience. Today, my guests are Joanne Lee and Precilia Kong. I met them when we were in high school together, and they started a nonprofit youth-led registered charity called Ignite the Warmth. And today they're going to share their experiences on starting that nonprofit and following their passions and participating in volunteerism. Hi, Precilia and Joanne.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Joanne, you're finishing up your Bachelor of Arts in English Literature and International Relations at the University of British Columbia. And Precilia, I know you're working towards your master's degree in public health. Super important stuff, especially during COVID era. And I'm so happy both of you are here.
Yes.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for having us, Calvin.
Someone's done their LinkedIn homework.
Yeah, I do some studying in preparation for the recording. But for our listeners, Ignite the Warmth again is a youth-led registered charity, and it's dedicated to combating stigma and prejudice surrounding those that are homeless or living in poverty in the Vancouver Lower Mainland. The organization is actually focused on providing opportunities and educational programs about these social issues among students and volunteers in the community. So it's a very grassroots youth-led organization, right?
That's right. Again, have done your homework.
I know in 2013 you started the organization, and since that year you've organized 6 consecutive annual blanket drives and fundraiser events. Would you like to tell our listeners what the blanket drives were about, for the 6 years?
Yeah, so the blanket drives started, way back when we were probably grade 11 students. And it really started as an idea and really a conversation between Precilia and I, thinking about what giving back means and what giving back looks like and giving back to community looks like. And so we started with a blanket drive because I think it was the most low barrier and most accessible way for us to really get our hands dirty or to really become an effort that was more boots on the ground. And I think from there, it really became our hallmark event, not only emphasizing blankets as that resource, but really emphasizing a community-based approach and looking at how we can provide firsthand experiences to volunteering and engaging with the downtown Eastside community. And from there, we've really used that, I guess, conversation as the motivator or as the principles behind a lot of our programming and a lot of our events is how can we not only provide experiences for youth to get involved, but for that to be also a learning experience or for something that doesn't exist in isolation in that hour or in that day, but how can that be an ongoing dialogue with themselves but also with the groups that they might be interacting with in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I was really happy to have volunteered in one of the blanket drives before, and one thing that I really appreciated was the in-person workshops. In the morning of, before we even set out around town, was to have that conversation and that learning experience about the issues at hand and how we build those connections with the people we're helping. So I think it was a really good learning opportunity, and obviously once we set foot in town, we were distributing these care kits of not only blankets but clothing and hygiene products and the handmade personalized cards. I think it's a really good thing to have, the personal touch, right? And it was just a really eye-opening and immersive experience. So Precilia, could you take us through how you and Joanne started Ignite the Warmth? You were in high school, obviously young students, and you had this passion of volunteerism and helping people in need in the downtown east side. What were some of the obstacles? What did you have to get through? What were some of the people that you had to speak to get this going?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it was definitely as two high school students, one of the main things was just navigating how to even start and develop something like an event or a passion project like Ignite the Warmth. It was helpful that we had the support of student councils across Richmond during the time, that we can mobilize both students and the agendas of these clubs to assist us with developing blanket drives. So we were able to, maybe for our first couple of years in high school, we were able to kind of loop in the blanket drive with a lot of the student council's canned food drive. So a lot of the schools would link it into maybe like one of the best prizes. If they provided a blanket, then they would be able to donate it to Ignite the Warmth or our passion project, and we would be the ones then to provide it, either personally handed out into the downtown east side, or we provided it to Union Mission Gospel, or
Mm-hmm.
Union Gospel Mission, UGM, who was the one that was able to provide the tangible goods to individuals who were staying at their shelter. But it was quite difficult, of course, being able to understand all of the nuances that came alongside with talking to individuals, organizing it, and even developing and building relationships with the other organizations within the downtown east side. I think that was kind of for me personally, was a very enriching experience, especially as a young youth, being able to go out into the world and kind of advocating for why we think this is an important cause, and being able to open up these conversations and dialogues with many other individuals too.
Do you recall why the issues of poverty and homelessness impacted you so much and motivated you to start the organization? Why this issue?
Yeah, so this is more of like a personal anecdote and kind of a personal motivation as to why I was very passionate, or I am still very passionate about homelessness and poverty. So it stemmed from when I was a little kid. My mom, who actually grew up in an orphanage in Portugal, when she immigrated to Canada, she herself faced a lot of homelessness and poverty when growing up. So when we were young, me and my sister, she instilled a lot of the values of giving back and kindness. And every Christmas, I believe, when we were younger, we would go to the downtown east side and we'd kind of prepare these care packages, which include canned food, a lot of tangible goods that would provide individuals with support overnight, and we would just hand it out. And I just remember that very vividly, that was a very important thing for us to do and empathize with, and be able to understand that despite different circumstances, we all connect on a human level, and that even if this individual is homeless, or um, they look different than us, or um, in a way, it just allows us to connect all at a human level. And I feel like that really motivated me in high school to want to do something to make change.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Joanne? Why do you think volunteerism and advocacy is so important to you personally?
Yeah. Well, I think echoing a lot of Pre's statements of, having a lot of those values and principles instilled at a young age. I think, yeah, from childhood, really having those senses of equity and justice, really powering a lot of the questions I had around powering a lot of the questions I had around the world around me, and looking at how, so often panhandlers or people without a home are so often dehumanized. I
Mm-hmm.
think there is maybe not a crystallizing moment, but definitely instances where this internal kind of dissonance happened when it was almost it's so much easier to look away than to confront, right? And I think over time, as a younger person, um, really that feeling, that dissonance just grew over time. And so instead of repressing it, really looking at how we can use discomfort as a way for us to challenge our internal biases, to challenge the why behind what we do,
Mm-hmm.
and as a force to question our, positions of privilege. And I think from there, and from again talking to Precilia as a high school student, it's like, hey, we have all these thoughts and questions. What can we do with it? What can we do as two students who might not think like we have a lot of autonomy or sway, but actually we do. Um, yeah, I think a lot of the values of why, we started this organization and why we really chose the name Ignite the Warmth was not only the association of blankets being something that brings warmth, but igniting a sense of, um, I guess, responsibility to community, or igniting a sense of accountability or engagement, igniting a lot of those questions and thoughts around how we can engage better or give back or think about our positions of privilege. So I'm really glad that we chose that for Precilia.
And to kind of tie on to that, one of the things as young youth, we wanted to provide a platform to empower youth and help them understand that despite us maybe doing small actions towards trying to fight and alleviate poverty and homelessness, these small actions collectively can make a big change. And Ignite the Warmth, we believe that the small little actions do make a big difference. And we hope to empower other youth to feel that whatever passion projects or whatever other issues that they're really passionate about or want to make change and enact change towards, that you can do it. And it just takes small steps. And to be completely honest, it just takes that first step to move forward towards it.
I love it. I think, Priscilla, you used the word empathy, and that's such an important word. And, to me, volunteerism and advocacy is all about, who you are internally. Obviously it's an external thing. You're participating in activities, you're connecting with people. But for me, it's mostly internally because, we're so busy with our lives, whether we're in school or at work, there's a lot of people in our society that gets left behind in a system, in the world today. So I feel like volunteering in its own, it's just internally where you're inspired and you're motivated to reach out and connect with people and give back to the society around you without expecting anything back. And I think that's the most important point of it. We might have a job where we're working and, we get money and we get paid, but volunteerism and advocating for what you believe in is a really sacred thing where it's who you are personally, and it's such a unique way to show the world who you really are. I think so. I'm really happy that both of you found that inspiration and started Ignite the Warmth. I wanted to go back to Joanne's question. You talked about how you connected with Precilia. Uh, I wanted to ask, how did you find synergy in this idea? Did you meet in class, or obviously you were good buddies? What was the conversation back then where it's like, hey, I have this idea. Uh, let's get started on it.
Wow.
Yeah, I know this is gonna be a real walk down memory lane, and I think a lot of it's gonna be quite hazy, given it's been quite a number of years. But yeah, we've been friends since high school, and I think we met uh, at a basketball tryout. Is that right?
Probably. I think in grade 8. It must have
Mm-hmm.
been early on in our high school days.
Yeah, yeah, definitely on a basketball court, and yeah, and it just started from there. And I guess that conversation, I don't know why it's still so vivid. I remember being in my room and like looking at the mirror, because when I'm on the phone, I look at the mirror, so it feels like I'm still talking to someone. So I have a very vivid image of me talking to you, but looking at myself in the mirror and getting so like hyped up and so like almost riled up about this idea of like, hey, we're two people, and like, hey, let's do something. I think I distinctly remember it's like, hey, let's do something. Don't know what's gonna look like. I don't know what it's gonna like how it's gonna entail or what resources we're gonna have. But I think we just felt really empowered in that moment as two people with like enough passion and enough of that vigor to like see something through. And I guess the rest is just history.
Right. And in everything we do, I guess there's obviously ups and downs. So you were really excited when you started, but inevitably there has been, challenges in running and leading a nonprofit, right?
Mm-hmm.
How have you grown from overcoming those challenges, and in moments of, I guess, self-doubt and obviously fear, how did you stay motivated and focused on your mission and what you want to do?
Yeah. Um, I think this is stuff that people often don't see, like on the huge, mission statements or the about us's, some of that turbulence and some of the adversity, right? But if anything, I hope we can really highlight those challenges as those points of learning and those points of reflection. And I think a lot of the challenges around, how we're doing what we're doing, or, a lot of our ideas of why we're doing it is all very well, meaninged and very well intentioned. But I think we've had a lot of conversations about, is this the right way to give back? Is this the right way of engaging with youth? And we've come to quite some crossroads and some barriers to really getting an answer, right? Because one, we are not experts. We are not like experts in the field of advocacy work, or in the field of, being able to support actual residents, or to support like community members. And so how do we, give back to a community that we don't belong to? And I think that's been a question that I've grappled a lot with. And I think Precilia and I have had a lot of questions about the way we work and the ethics behind what we're doing. And is this volunteerism? Is this, is our approach, very extractive? Is our approach, could include some more lived voices? And that's always been kind of the gut check, or a way for us to take a step back from our work and to be more intentional with how we go about engaging youth. So yeah, I think that has definitely been amongst, I guess, the umbrella challenge of a lot of our work, on top of, some more of the more discrete things and more logistical pieces. But I don't know if Pri wants to echo some of that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to provide like a very vivid memory for both Joanne and I, that I think really was a turning point for Ignite the Warmth. As we've talked about over the past couple of minutes, we've talked about how Ignite the Warmth, we've started off as a blanket drive. A lot of it was us providing this tangible good to individuals in the resident to assist with the issues of not having a home, or even fighting the cold during the winter months. However, I remember very vividly how one day when we were providing the blankets, we were dropping it off at UGM, and there was a resident who was in the office when we were dropping it off. I'm not sure if Joanne, you remember this story as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when we dropped it off, this individual was asking us what we were doing, and we told him that we were dropping off some blankets that we were raising from a blanket drive. And he sat us down and he's like, this is an amazing thing that you two are doing. However, have you thought that our blankets what people truly need? And I think that was the first time anyone told me something that was like, wow, maybe what we're doing is not actually what individuals in the resident, or who are residents in the downtown east side, actually need. So I was presuming that they were requiring blankets and that was the solution for their issue. And I think at that point, I was just grappling with so many different emotions. And I remember him talking about how if you're passing, or if you're like providing the tangible goods, like blankets to individuals, some people may take it the wrong way. They may be thinking that you're pitying them, and different emotions can come out. And that was never our intention with Ignite the Warmth, was to provide this, to provide or to demean other individuals as well. We never wanted to do that with Ignite the Warmth. So for me, I remember just sitting there and crying and tearing up a bit, because I didn't really know how to move forward with this. I didn't know how to reevaluate our mission and our goal. And I think for us, it just was, especially moving forward from there, we learned for sure how to reevaluate what our goal and missions are, and to really understand our positionalities as outsiders, and really do the consultative and do our homework and work alongside organizations and build relationships with organizations who have these lived experiences, or who work with people with lived experiences. And to me, I think that was the most valuable thing I've learned throughout Ignite the Warmth, was really understanding how volunteerism can be portrayed as oftentimes individuals coming in with their privilege and taking advantage of the situation in a way to make themselves feel better. But at the same time, we have to consider that volunteerism in its core is to understand the needs of the individuals and the needs of the communities, and to work alongside these communities and to do something along the sides of building capacity so that they can get out of the situation that they're in. And yeah, that was a very vivid memory that kind of pushed us in a,
Mm-hmm.
I think, in a better trajectory moving forward, in a more consultatory trajectory.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, a really special dynamic that I really like about the organization and you and your team is that you are all learning as well. Like, no one is trying to be an expert or saying that they're qualified enough to help a particular group of people. We're all learning. We're all like you said, you're in a consulting position where you're trying to see how you can immerse yourself in the community and reach out through that. And I feel like with you having that turning point moment and channeling that, obviously it was it was sad emotion to pushing your nonprofit charity ahead. That was a really good moment for you, I think. And now Ignite the Warmth is not only doing a blanket drive or trying to alleviate poverty, but you're also trying to involve the youth and you're trying to focus more on education. And I feel like you've you'll have a greater outreach that way. Is this true? Where you're more people are learning about the issues in your cause, and you're breaking down the stigma and breaking down the barriers to the dialogue and really understanding what the true issues are underneath. Is this accurate? Has it really helped you with in terms of outreach and getting people in the community to understand what you're truly doing?
Um, I think when you mentioned about learning, I think that's kind of the focus that we wanted to move forward. And Joanne, please jump in moving forward as well. But one of the things we wanted to emphasize was the learning exchange and the value of learning exchange. So, a lot of the events and programs that we have been trying to build over the past couple of years has been trying to highlight the reciprocal experiences and learning experiences that individuals bring to the table. So, when we were collaborating with an organization called The Dugout a couple of years ago, they are a local organization in the downtown east side that provides a living room setup for residents of the downtown east side to go in. It's kind of like a soup kitchen where they can meet other individuals, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and build relationships. So we collaborated with the Dugout and we developed an event where we would have individuals who are interested in volunteering and helping out to make sandwiches. And they would, alongside, be working with residents of the downtown east side or within the residents with lived experiences to make the sandwiches with each other. And in process, they'd be talking and building the relationships and getting to know one another. And for us, this was a really important event because it really highlighted this reciprocal learning experience and how both individuals have different things that they can bring to the table, different experiences that they can talk about. But at the end of the day, we're still all human, and that's what we hope to keep on emphasizing in our events, is that individuals that we're hoping to serve through the various events that we have created and the programming that we've created, we really want our volunteers to feel comfortable and to build relationships and to learn also from individuals with lived experiences and vice versa, of course, too.
Yeah, I think a lot of where our, I guess, direction and where a lot of our, principles have pivoted to is that emphasis in sustainable work. And a lot of that sustainability comes from relationships, right? And it's even reframing volunteerism as relating. We're not necessarily doing something and feeling like we're giving to, but rather sharing. Um, I wonder if that helps with a lot of the stigma of us and them, right? And the stigma of barriers and a lot of the social gaps or a lot of the language and sentiments around what we're doing or what engagement, what volunteering looks like. And so having a principle or a pillar thought around asset-based community development is something that we really want to embed in all of our events and our programming, and how we even conduct ourselves is how do we look towards the community as having assets and using those strengths to empower from within, rather than have a group of high schoolers come into a community and hand out
Mm-hmm.
blankets for a day and leave, because that's
Mm-hmm.
extractive and that is temporary. And
Mm-hmm.
so instead of having that be our hallmark and having that exist in isolation, is a lot of the relationship building with key partners is involving community members and involving residents and paying residents and paying folks who help us, so that work exists in a cycle within the downtown east side, rather than because that then creates a dependence, right? Or it is also it impacts the ecosystem that already exists within that community. And instead of perpetuating a lot of the structural gaps or the structural inequities that happen within that system, we want to be able to take a step back and look at where we are situated, and so that we don't exacerbate them, or we don't continue to reflect some of those barriers or biases or
Mm-hmm.
stereotypes in our work.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and I think with the the word learning exchange, that's so important because I guess in a general sense, when people volunteer or when they donate money, it's just them giving time or money away to an organization, and most of them don't understand the true purpose of what they're contributing to. They're just doing it to say, I'm helping this organization. And I feel like if you provide a platform where there is an exchange of information and it's actually an immersive learning experience, people can really find their purpose in the social issues that they're volunteering with, and the organization that they're um, a part of. So I personally really, really like that learning experience. Obviously, with COVID this year, it's difficult to run your workshop and blanket drive as usual. So could you tell us a bit more about the upcoming event that's next week, and how our listeners can be involved?
Yeah, no, thank you, Calvin. So, um, given the shift online due to COVID-19 and a lot of the restrictions in relation to ensuring the safety of individuals, and some restrictions in relation to large group gatherings, we've made the hard decision not to run an annual blanket drive this year. However, rather, we're doing a virtual online event, which will be happening this Sunday, November 8th, from 4 to 6 p.m. It's called COVID-19 Beyond Our Homes. And we hope to highlight and spotlight some organizations and nonprofit organizations in the Vancouver Lower Mainland who have shifted and adapted their programming and as a result for COVID-19, and are continuing to provide resources and ways for students and youth also to get involved with the community.
And where can our listeners learn more about Ignite the Warmth online or on social media?
Yeah, so Ignite the Warmth, we have a website. All of the most up to date information you can find on ignitethewarmth.com. We also have a Facebook page, which will have more information about our event. So your listeners or any listeners can um, go onto
RSVP.
Facebook. Yeah, RSVP on it, and they'll receive a link to the Zoom call for Sunday, and be able to join and ask their questions and learn a little bit more about how they can get involved.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you can find us on Facebook page, social media platforms at Ignite the Warmth. But really, we want to hear from you too. We value, again, emphasizing a lot of that relationship building piece and ensuring a lot of what we do is a dialogue and not just, talking to people. We want to hear some of your experiences and what you're keen about in terms of how you want to be engaged, or how, yeah, these kind of questions around how do we combat stigma, how do we combat a lot of the issues and crises of housing and poverty that are often very visible in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, and especially so during this pandemic era. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Calvin,
Uh,
can I jump in for a
yeah,
quick second to
yeah.
emphasize something? One of
Go
the
ahead.
cool One of the cool things about this event is actually we have a team of 7 UBC students who are spearheading and who've planned the whole COVID-19 Beyond Your Homes panelist event. We hope to get more individuals involved with Ignite the Warmth and youth involved with our organization. So if anyone is interested in participating and learning more about nonprofit sector and organizations, we'd also love to hear from them too.
That's awesome. I was going to say it's really cool to see how this all started with just an idea and a strong passion to help others, and you really put it into action and persevered through the years. Obviously, there's been a lot of challenges, but and learning opportunities, but you've persevered through all of them and now actually making an impact. So I think for those who are still in school, but you have a strong desire to volunteer and connect with those in your community, please do reach out to Ignite the Warmth, to Joanne and Precilia, and learn about how they did it, and get some advice on how you can advocate for issues that matter to you. Joanne and Precilia, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experiences. I really appreciated your insight, your honesty, and your path to what Ignite the Warmth is today.
Thank you so much, Calvin.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Novice Experience, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Novice Experience. Our theme song is Concrete Jungle by Audio Binger. You can find us or reach out on social media at the Novice Exp. That's the Novice EXP. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on all your podcast listening platforms. Talk to you next time.